Okay, thank you. So once again, welcome to all of you from the Columbus Karma Take Choling Tibetan Meditation Center in Columbus, Ohio. We're pleased that you came to spend a couple of hours with us today at the program on the Golden Eight-Petaled Lotus, the practices of medicine and health with Lama Losang. Lama Losang is a trained doctor of acupuncture, and he is also a teacher of acupuncture. And he has also degrees in Chinese medicine and herbology. And so he is he also has a psychology degree from American universities. So he is qualified in several different areas to speak to us today. We're extremely pleased to have him speaking to us from his center there in Gainesville, Florida at Karma Take Choling in Gainesville, Florida. So Lama, please turn the wheel of Dharma and give us some teachings today on meditation and health. I also would like to remind everyone that, that we're going to keep your microphones muted during the program. This is so that sounds from your house will not be on the recording. And then also, if you wish to ask questions, please use the chat window if you can. Lama will be stopping from time to time to take questions from chat. So if you have questions as they develop, type them into chat. And then if you do not have the chat function on your device, after chat questions are handled, there will be, the Lama will ask for audio questions. And so then we'll be able to have those of you who are participating by audio ask your questions. Okay, so Lama, I'm going to hand it to you, and thank you again for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Lama, and thank you for inviting me. And I want to thank all of you for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this and to make your donation to the Columbus KTC as well, and to promote the rebuilding of their, what will be the flagship of the KTCs. It's going to be beautiful. And you have the opportunity to practice there with some wonderful teachers as well. And it will be blessed by many more teachers as the years go on. So it is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm happy to be a part of that in this small way. Lama says, turn the wheel of Dharma. This is going to be a little different than the usual Dharma teaching, in that this Golden Eight-Petaled Lotus of Asian medicine constitutes the training of an Asian doctor. And this is the traditional way of this 5,000 years old plus. And it considers eight different branches. But in a dream, I saw this Golden Eight-Petaled Lotus, very similar to the picture that was presented in the advertisement, Buddha holding an eight-petaled lotus. And it brought me to this the study that includes the early training of practitioners, which there are 8, including the first, and this is in a chronological order of importance, both to the practitioner and to the patient, beginning with meditation or self-cultivation. That is the first of the 8 petals. The second is Qigong or Tai Chi, or some, again, cultivation through movement and through wellness, physical breathing, exercise. That's the second. The third is diet, nutrition, you know, what we're putting in our body, that it be pure, clean. The fourth is massage, Tui Na, acupressure, those the kinds of aspects. And you know, naturally, if you injure yourself, you put your hand on it, you massage it. That is a kind of instinctual, but it is part of a healing process that has been part of the training of Asian physicians. So we have meditation, we have Qigong, we have diet, nutrition, and massage. The fifth is the I Ching, or Mo. And these methods of prognostication or ways of viewing our cosmos have been used, again, in the time of its origination, thousands of years ago by the sages who have promoted this. And from my side, it is from the Medicine Buddha. And much of what we're doing is really like a biography for me, or an autobiography, because I've had teachings and teachers and training in each of these particular subjects with wonderful teachers. And so my goal is to just present this to you. And in this period of time, there's only so much we can do. So bear with me if we need to extend this teaching out to include some future training, if it is so desired, we can do that. So I Ching is the classic Chinese, you're probably familiar with the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. And Mo is a Tibetan version of this prognostication and a way of tapping in to the infinite wisdom of the cosmos. I sometimes had some question as a Buddhist about using these things. The Buddha was kind of neutral about it all, but as I say, this is kind of an biographical presentation, and I will be giving, if time permits, some aspects of my relationship to these different practices. The sixth of the 8 is feng shui. Astrology can also be placed in this, but feng shui is when, for example, a monastery is built in China or Tibet. The placement is very important. The mountains, the streams, the land, and you can tell the feng shui of an area by the animals that are there, by the vegetation that is there. Is it flourishing? Are the animals weak? Are they scrawny, or are they robust, strong, healthy? And places have a certain feng shui or energetic, as our houses do. Our houses are places where we live, and they have an energy, and they can be conducive to our well-being or not so. And sometimes, when I see a patient, I will ask about their living situation and maybe even get a diagram of their house, because there can be blockages or impediments that actually affect health. And this is part of the training of an Asian physician, and has been, again, for thousands of years. The 7th of the 8 is herbal medicine, which takes a lot of different forms, which is a complete and vast study in and of itself. And the last is acupuncture. Acupuncture is seen as it's like major surgery. If you can't, and again, this is a hierarchy, starting with meditation. If you have not tamed your mind, if you have not have even placement in the world with your mind, then that leads to all kinds of distortions and emotional upheaval. So it begins with meditation, then training the body. And I teach Tai Chi, I teach Qigong as well, and have for scores of years. So, and like I say, this is like an autobiographical presentation, because all of these things I have used. Lama Kathy has seen me in various states of my own health or dis-ease in a certain kind of way. I've unfortunately had 3 heart attacks and a stroke, but I have recovered from all of those. According to my physicians, remarkably, they don't see this kind of recovery with the degree of problems that was experienced. I have 7 stents in my heart. Lama, I don't know, I think you saw that I just had one last month. My 7th, a brand new titanium stent in my heart. So these things happen, but the good news is, yes, they happen, but the recovery and the capacity for us to go on is a matter of mind, and a matter of our exercise, our diet, and all of these things that I've mentioned in this hierarchy. So we'll be going through these 7 in obviously not as much detail as it would take. We could use each of these 2 hours just for meditation, or each of the 8 as mentioned. But just to reiterate, meditation, self-cultivation is first. You know, it's like training a puppy. We have to get it to behave. And that's not always so easy. Left to our own devices, often we don't do so well with that. And you will see through all of these 8 petals of this golden lotus that we're talking about, there is a lineage, just like in meditation, there are different lineages. And with martial arts, there are different lineages. There are different paths to follow in nutrition. I will be giving you my view of these based on my experience and with my teachers. Feng Shui is the same, but they will all be based on what is called the 5 elements. And there are different schools, as we say in Chinese medicine, 8 principal, different aspects of lineage. But what I am basing my teaching on is what is called the 5 elements. And along the way, you'll become more familiar with those. Some of you may have some experience with that theoretical point of view, but we are made up of these 5 elements. Everything that we see, hear, feel, touch, taste is part of this 5 element relationship. The seasons, tastes, our personalities, our constitutional predisposition is based on an imbalance or, you know, a aspect of these 5 elements. And for the acupuncture physician or for the trained doctor to keep those elements in balance is the key. And that is done through pulses, through just hearing the voice. There's a quality in the voice, looking at the texture of the skin, the quality of the skin, the color, our preferences, sweet, salty, bitter. All these attractions are not accidental. We have these attractions to try to, in our own internal intuitive reasoning, to help maintain balance and equilibrium. So we're going to put this together. It may seem vast and a lot, which it is, but we'll try to make some sense out of these different aspects and hopefully leading to a healthier, happier life. So we're going to begin with the Mahamudra lineage prayer as part of the first of these 8 petals of meditation or self-cultivation. The Mahamudra lineage prayer is both an aspiration to attain the supreme level of Mahamudra, which is the quintessential teaching really in our Karmakaja lineage, and devotion to our precious teachers who have developed, taught, and continue to teach and to bring us to that level of realization that is both, you know, we call Mahamudra, resting the mind in its natural state without distraction and knowing that directly the nature of our mind. So as we look at the Mahamudra lineage prayer, which Lama Kathy is going to put on the screen for us, generally we start all of our teachings with the Mahamudra lineage prayer. So likewise, I'm going to begin our teaching, which is meditation, with the Mahamudra lineage prayer. Most of you who have been in this tradition are familiar with it at KTD and most centers. They use this prayer regularly. I chant it every day as part of my morning routine. But we're going to do it in the English.
Lama,
Yes.
I want to see, is the lineage supplication currently showing on the screen share?
It is. We got it.
Fantastic. Okay, great.
Yes, thank
Well,
you.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Lama. Everyone, you can leave your microphones on mute, and Lama, you can lead the recitation, or I can lead the recitation, your choice.
Yeah, I will lead the recitation, and as you say, do it with us, but on mute, because if we do it all together, it'll be really
Right. Okay.
kind of crazy. So with that understanding about this Mahamudra lineage prayer, there's different points of view about chanting it in the Tibetan, which carries much blessing. But for us in this situation, hearing the words and understanding the words as Westerners, you certainly, I'm not saying don't chant it in the Tibetan when you're doing your practice, but it's fine to chant it in the English so that you make a sense of what you're saying. And we're not Tibetan, we're Westerners, and you're more likely to become a Buddha in this life than you are to become Tibetan. So understanding what we're saying is important. So you can chant it along with me. Great Vajradhara, Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Lord of Dharma Gampopa, knower of the 3 times of Nishan Karmapa, holder of the 4 great and 8 lesser lineages, Drikung, Tuplung, Selpa, these 3, glorious Drukpa, and so on, masters of the profound path of Mahamudra, unequal protectors of beings, the Dakpo Kaju, I supplicate you, Kaju Lamas. Grant your blessings that following your example, I hold your lineage. Detachment is the foot of meditation, as is taught. To this meditator who is not attached to food and wealth, who cuts the ties to this life, grant your blessings that I have no attachment to honor or gain. Devotion is the head of meditation, as is taught. The Guru opens the gate to the treasury of oral instructions. To this meditator who continually supplicates you, grant your blessings that uncontrived devotion is born within. Non-distraction is the body of meditation, as is taught. Whatever arises is fresh, the nature of thought. To the meditator who rests simply without altering it, grant your blessings that meditation is free from conception. The nature of thought is Dharmakaya, as is taught. Nothing whatsoever arises is everything. To this meditator for whom all arises as unceasing play, grant your blessings that I realize samsara and nirvana inseparable. Through all my births, may I not be separated from the perfect Guru, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma. Perfecting the qualities, the paths and stages, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. So this little pithy prayer is really the essence of the teaching of the Buddha. We can say that the teaching is about hearing, and listening, hearing, contemplating, and practicing. So to just unpack this a little bit, if we're talking about meditation as the first of these petals that we're going to be studying, and the aspect of lineage, the Buddha taught thousands of ways of practicing, because there are so many different beings. There's no one like you. There has never been, there will never be anyone who is like you with the same causes, conditions, and mind frame that you have. Consequently, even reading this, we all had a different experience of it. But as we break it down, this profound path of Mahamudra, from our lineage teachers, it says, grant the blessings of following your example, I hold your lineage. And many people have different levels of experience. There's the foundational path, sometimes called Hinayana. We don't like that so much because it's somewhat prejudicial or derogatory. It's saying it's a lesser path. We all will follow that Hinayana path. That's the essence of the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. When we talk about that quality, the existence of suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, that is the essence of the Buddhist teaching, and the Noble Eightfold Path we should consider as well as the fourth of those teachings of the Buddha, his first turning of the wheel in Sarnath after his enlightenment. Right understanding, right speech, right livelihood, right mindfulness, right concentration, right thought, right action, right effort. These are all aspects of the Buddha's teaching on how to attain, really how to end suffering for ourselves. Sometimes Buddhism is seen as, oh, you guys are just so depressing. You're so negative. All you talk about is suffering. No, actually, the Buddha said he was here to end suffering. And he showed us a path to end suffering. So the first of those is a particular vehicle, is studying that teachings of the wheel of the Dharma, the Four Noble Truths, and the path of the cessation of suffering, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. So some people are attracted to that particular vehicle, the foundation vehicle. Others see that there is other suffering out there, and they say, well, I'm not the only one suffering. Yes, we know suffering, and that's what the Buddha says, no suffering. Yes, I know suffering, but I also see that others are suffering. So I wish to dedicate my practice and evolution to the benefit of all beings. So that is the Mahayana aspect of the Buddha's teaching. The Bodhisattva Yana, which is very courageous, to cultivate virtue, to rest in the Buddha's teaching, and to cultivate the way of the Bodhisattva is through the what we call the six paramitas. And as we go to the five elements, we're also going to show a connection between each of these paramitas and the five elements as we cultivate virtue. And lastly, is the Vajrayana, sometimes called Mantrayana, sometimes called Tantrayana. But here we see we have the perfect view of the nature of reality, pure perception, pure view. We see this world as it is, as a perfect. And we do our teaching, we see the teacher as the Buddha, and all beings as the Buddha, as distorted as they may see reality, their Buddha nature is unstained. You can't do anything to stain or upset that adamantine quality of Buddha nature. It has always been there, it always will be there. But we look to the teacher to help guide us in the proper manner to realize that. So the teacher is an important part of the Mantrayana, Tantrayana, Vajrayana path. Each of these plays a very significant role, and that's what this prayer is suggesting. So it starts with detachment as the foot of meditation. And we can all be detached from our craving, from our clinging. We don't have to be a renunciate in a cave to do that. In fact, it may be easier in that situation than it is to be in our day-to-day life and be confronted with all the things that we have to deal with in our day-to-day activity in the culture that we live in. But detachment means to disengage from the attachment to those things. So we have a job, we have a family, we have all of the things, but we don't cling to them in the way that it causes suffering. Detachment is the foot, it's the base, it's our ground, it's the foundation that we build our practice on. Detachment is the foot of meditation, as is taught. I'm just going through the Mahamudra, using this as a vehicle for our look at meditation. So detachment is the foot of meditation. Not attached to food or wealth that cuts the ties to this life. We know that this life is impermanent. We know it, but we don't always act in that way. We're continually looking into the future, and we're really time travelers, and that brings us to another one of these aspects. But first, we'll go to the attachment, not being attached to honor or gain. We sometimes, in that regard, we talk about the 8 vicissitudes, or that the Buddha taught, not being attached to pleasure, pain, gain or loss, praise or blame, fame or blame, those kinds of fame and disrepute. We let go of those things. That is what detachment is. And devotion, the head of meditation, as is taught. The Guru opens the gate to the oral instructions. So we have the good fortune of being born human, so we can hear and understand and practice the instructions of a teacher. And the teachings now are more available than they've ever been. Our previous teachers, when we talk about Talopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, they had to go to great pains to practice, to find a teacher. And the teachers put them through incredible hardships in order to free them from their suffering and help them cultivate virtue and to attain Buddhahood. We have that same capacity. We have that same possibility as humans. At this time, we can do the same thing if that is our motivation, if we have the motivation. And part of that motivation is devotion. Devotion, the head of meditation. The Guru opens the gate to the treasury of oral instruction. To this meditator who continually supplicate you, grant your blessings. That uncontrived devotion is born within. There's a lot about the teacher-student relationship now more than ever. Some teachers have abused students. Rarely do we hear about the teacher's devotion to their student. And that is really also important, that is the most important thing to the teacher is the student. They're like their only child, it is said. So you wouldn't do anything to compromise that or to take them off the path or confuse them in any way, shape, or form. So this devotion is two ways. It is both the student having devotion and the teacher having the devotion to the student. And as that occurs, you have this smaya, or this bond, this connection. Very important in the Mahayana, and the even more important in the Vajrayana. Non-distraction is the body of meditation, as is taught. Grant your blessing that meditation is free from conception. I don't know if you're like me, but you sit down and your mind just begins to go off, thinking of this, that, and the next thing. As soon as that does, we're aware of that mind being attached to this idea or that in the future, or reflecting on the past. Here it says that meditation, non-distraction, is the body of meditation. That's the body of meditation. That's the bulk of our meditation, is to stay in this moment, to stay present, to be mindful and not distracted. As I was saying, we're mind travelers, or we're time travelers into the future or reflecting on the past. Rarely are we in the perfection of this moment. So this statement about non-distraction being the body of meditation is to be mindful of where we are in our meditation and to be present. And sometimes in our shamatha, we are cultivating serenity, where tranquility and helping the mind stay put. I mentioned the puppy. We're training the puppy to stay, and for its own benefit too. I mean, we have to train the puppy to listen and to be safe, to sit and stay. It's a little more difficult sometimes with the mind when we say sit and stay. But basically that is what shamatha is to train our little puppy mind to behave and to be present. So as it says, whatever arises is fresh, the nature of thought. And simply resting without altering it. It's neither good nor bad. The nature of the mind is just pure awareness, clear awareness. And when thoughts come to mind, inevitably they will do. That's what our mind does, compares, contrasts, analyzes, goes through its cognitive gymnastics. But when we're doing our meditation, we're aware of that and we're disengaging from that cognitive process, which is exhausting. It's no wonder we're exhausted at the end of the day with all of the feelings, emotions, thoughts that we're attending to, one right after the other. So meditation is free from conception. That is quite a statement, to have our mind free from conception. But that is the nature of meditation. And the nature of thought is Dharmakaya. It's the vast expanse of emptiness. That is the source of our wisdom. And that is what is taught. So nothing whatsoever. It arises as everything. To this meditator for whom all arises as unceasing play. Grant your blessings that I realize samsara and nirvana inseparable. Sometimes we think samsara is bad, nirvana is good, and we strive for nirvana, but really they're the same. They're equal for those minds who have transcended the duality, the dichotomy of good, bad, samsara, and nirvana. It is all the same in the eyes of the Buddha. Through all my births, may I not be separated from the perfect Guru and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma. We pray for that every day. You know, may I not be separated from my precious teachers now until enlightenment is reached. May we always be together. Perfecting the qualities of the past and stages, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Vajradhara is seen as the primordial Buddha, which is your own nature. You are no different than Vajradhara. In our refuge tree, it's a central figure, the blue figure holding the Vajra and bell across this chest. That is your nature, and we wish to realize that nature. So as I say, we could spend this entire time on the first of our 8 petals, but I think just for the sake of expedience, we'll maybe take a question or two about that. If there are any questions, I think this is not does not come as new news to you, this situation, but understanding this prayer and to say it on a regular basis is such blessing, and realize it, its meaning. You know, that's the most important thing. Should we take a question or two at this point, if there are any?
I think this is a good time for that. If you have a question, you can type it into chat, and we will take questions. By the way, also just to update you, we are going to be taking a 5-minute break somewhere after the top of the hour. And we'll let Lama choose that time, and then this will give you an opportunity to get up and move around, and then we'll resume 5 minutes, pretty much 5 minutes sharp after the break. Here's a question: what is a good book to read on meditation for healing?
Well, we're talking about your mind. So any book that tames your mind is going to be good for healing. Like we say, this is the primary #1 thing, is taming your mind. So all Dharma is going to be a good book. And because we're all so different in our approaches to the Dharma, it is the one that you're most attracted to. So it's, and as we say, there are different levels of engagement. So the #1 thing is meditation. So any book on meditation that you're attracted to, I would say within our lineage, whether it's books that are available like the Columbus KTC that you can ask Lama about. But those books that help tame your mind is great. That is the number one thing. And you'll find lots of different books that are about health and healing, diet, nutrition, Qigong. So again, there are so many aspects of this, these 8 petals that we're talking about. It would be very, I don't really have one that I would say this is the quintessential book on healing. It's really based on your attractions and personality and interests. I'm sorry it's not more specific, but it is like that.
Yeah. Thank you, Lama. The second question is about the Mahamudra lineage supplication.
Yes.
If we look at the lineage supplication, near the end of the supplication, it says, the nature of thoughts is Dharmakaya, it is taught. So the question is about the last part of that section, where it says, to this meditator for whom all arises as unceasing play, grant your blessing that the inseparability of samsara and nirvana be realized. So the question here is, the questioner is asking, what is meant by play?
Wonderful. The mind is going to do its thing, and we watch it with a certain, it's like a play. If we're watching this unfolding aspect of our mind out of the Dharmakaya, you know, when we look at, excuse me, of our mind, it can think of anything, and it does. Excuse me. So it's unceasing. You know, sometimes we say that the mind, as we first look at it when we're meditating, is like a water over a waterfall. You know, thoughts one after the other in a torrent of thought. And then we get so confused and distracted and the rest. But if we can disengage from that and observe it as just the nature of our, the Dharmakaya, the natural uprising of phenomenon, whether we see it in our mind, and everything that we see is in our mind, as a play of consciousness, as it is said, we can enjoy it without the distraction and without any overlay of prejudice, of fear, grief, sorrow, attraction, aversion. It is just like a movie. And we have that sense of it being like a movie. And when we're in a movie, sometimes we get lost in that movie. But if we have a certain awareness, we know that, well, I can get up and go to the bathroom. It is a movie. And I can come back and we can rewind it, or and to have that disengagement from these things as being real, it's almost like a dream. You know, we see this quality of life in dream-like, and so this aspect of the meditator for whom all arises as unceasing play, it's enjoyable. You know, you'll see most teachers happy, smiling. Their minds are the same as your mind, but they have disengaged from the worry, from the fear, because of their expectation, because of their clinging to a particular outcome, because of you know, attachment to a particular situation. You just see it unfolding naturally and effortlessly, observing the mind's play.
Okay, thank you, Lama.
I hope that answers the question. But the other part of that is also important. You know, grant your blessing that I realize samsara and nirvana is inseparable. we think that enlightenment is going to be this, I don't know, we just see everything as it is, as the clear light of bliss, without the attachments of good and bad, without aversion and without attraction. So it is, samsara is not understanding the nature of reality. And so we're waking up. When the Buddha under the Bodhi tree became enlightened, he said, I am awake. So we're awakened, and you just see the play of consciousness. You see the enlightened mind is free of concepts of samsara and nirvana. It is just reality as it is. Anytime you have samsara nirvana, this duality is contrary to the way things are. There's no duality. There's no contradiction. It is just the nature of the truth of what is. So this is clear when we rest the mind naturally in its natural state, which is this Mahamudra, which we're talking about. You just see the play of consciousness without attachment and aversion, naturally occurring, blissfully so. Okay, hopefully again, that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you, Lama. We do have one more question here. Let's see, do you have time for another question?
Sure.
Okay. The question is, does the practice of medicine Buddha have an affinity with the Ayurvedic medicine system, or is the medicine Buddha's affinity more naturally with Chinese traditional medicine?
It's both. I mean, any medicine from my side is from the medicine Buddha. Ayurvedic system, Tibetan system, Chinese system, they may vary slightly, just like meditation systems in certain medicine traditions differ. From my side, they all come from the enlightened mind of the Buddha. And they may express with different teachers, different lineages, but they are all come from a particular enlightened mind. So practicing medicine Buddha is a really important part of a practice for someone who is interested in health and healing. It is one of my daily practices as well. And when I had my stroke and I was in the hospital, I had the good fortune of having Kempo Ujin come and say, do medicine Buddha, I'm doing medicine Buddha for you. And because it wasn't my practice, I was doing medicine Buddha as well. And I have to say, I think that is one of the reasons I recovered so well with all those blessings, both from Kempo Ujin and myself. And, when I had my stroke, it was in front of Karmapa. I was at Munlam in New York. As Lama Kathy knows, she was there as well. And I have to say, she was really great with me. She took good care of me. But I had so many blessings. But medicine Buddha is one of those things. And it is, I wouldn't differentiate medicine Buddha with any, with Ayurveda or Tibetan or Chinese. So when I think of the Chinese 5 elements, from my side, it comes from medicine Buddha. And, Kempo Ujin did such a wonderful presentation on medicine Buddha and the medicine Buddha brothers and the visualization and all those things. That all these sources of medicine ultimately, from my point of view, come from the medicine Buddha.
Wonderful. Well, so Lama, it is now, let's see, 52 minutes past the hour. Wanted to see if you wanted to take an audio question, or if you wanted to take any more questions, or if you'd like to take the break, or if you'd like to
well,
continue.
Let's see if there's any more questions. I like the questions. We can play off the questions. Other people may have similar questions. So if we do have an audio question, it's fine to take it now.
Okay, I have one more in chat. So the gentleman in chat, hang loose. I'll get back to you in a minute. I want to open it up for audio questions in case anybody would like to ask an audio question, you can look up in the upper corner of your little Zoom window and you'll see the 3 dots, and then you can turn on your microphone. So let's see, do we have any audio questions? Okay.
Lama Kathy and Lama Losang. Lama Losang,
Yes.
can you explain a little bit more blessings, the receiving of blessings during practice, and specifically with Medicine Buddha and other deity meditations?
Yeah. You know, from my side, again, a lot of people like to do many different practices. And if you're a lineage holder, then you have to be familiar with all those practices to be able to teach them and present them. But for practitioners, doing a lot of different practices, I think, can be a little confusing sometimes. But the blessing comes, again, we said the blessing comes from your devotion. The blessing comes from the more devotion you have, the more connection you have to the deity or the yidam, the more blessing comes with that. And it's the same with your teacher. If you have a little bit of devotion, you get a little blessing. If you have a big devotion, you get a big blessing. It is kind of like that with the yidam practice as well. If you can open your heart, the more you open your heart to that visualization and practice, the more the blessing comes from that. You know, it is your experience, your direct experience of the love and of that particular deity. And different deities express the different aspects, whether it's Medicine Buddha or Chenrezig or, you know, whatever your yidam is. But to embody that, it's said, practice one and gain the benefit of all. Because there is no one Buddha who's better than another. There's not one yidam that's better for another. They all have the same capacity, which is omniscient. It's all embracing. It is vast, greater than we could possibly contemplate or imagine. So the blessing comes from your devotion. It comes from your surrender to that practice and giving yourself fully to it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yes, it does. Thank you for elaborating.
Sure. Okay.
Now we have a question from chat. The question is, how does one practice Medicine Buddha?
Well, there are short practices. You know, you have on your website the short practice. And Medicine Buddha is one of those sutra practices. Usually we talk about empowerments or the lung, the reading transmission. There are usually different aspects of a yidam practice, which is getting the empowerment, getting the lung or the reading transmission, and getting the instruction. So those are the important things. One can practice on their own, particularly if they have the instruction. So that is basic. Getting it from a book, I'm not so sure about, because given, again, if left to our own devices, often we create things that maybe shouldn't be there and leave out things that should be there, and we can get ourselves in trouble. So having a teacher who you can rely on to give you the instruction is good if you can get the empowerment for that Medicine Buddha practice. And the lung, which is the reading transmission, the teacher will go through that with you and then get the instruction. There are Khenchen Trungpa Rinpoche has a book on Medicine Buddha, which I would highly recommend. And Lama Kathy, you just had a teaching, didn't you, on Medicine Buddha practice? And Kathy did that. So,
right. Yes, we did. And yes, and anybody who's interested can send an email to the organizer of this event, which is me, after the program, and I'll send you the video link, and you can see Kathy Lamo Jackson's presentation on Medicine Buddha instructions.
so I would
yeah.
recommend that to you. Yes, she's very good at giving that instruction. And although she can't do the empowerment, and that is really not essential at this point, but if you ever have the opportunity to get the Medicine Buddha empowerment, I would suggest it. But that would be a good, to answer that question, that would be a good way to do it.
Okay, that's all the questions that we have in chat, but we have one comment saying, really looking forward to Lama's explanation of 5 elements relating to the 6 paramitas. So you have
okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay,
so,
we're now at the top of the hour, so it's up to you to choose the next thing, Lama.
Well, let's go ahead. We have been sitting for an hour or so, most of us, and so go ahead, stretch your legs, get yourself another coffee or tea, and we'll pick up in 5 minutes.
Okay, that sounds fine. The clock starts now, and we will be resuming at 5 minutes past the hour. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lama.
Thank you.
quick reminder, we'll be starting in about 1 minute. Okay, thanks to everybody for coming back from the break, and appreciate your participation through questions and so forth. Just a quick reminder, we are going to be muting all microphones except for Lama Losang. And then if you have questions, you can type them into chat. You can type them into chat, and we will handle them during the next question session. Lama Losang, I did put your microphone on mute, so if you could unmute, you can resume the presentation. Thanks to everyone.
Yes, thank you. Well, we had the question about the 6 perfections, and one of the last things that of those 8, the acupuncture, usually I talk about the 5 elements there, but we might just go ahead and do that now, saying that she asked the question, so that's good, and we can talk about the 6 perfections a little bit in the realm of meditation. So I'll just continue with that. I was going to go on with Tai Chi and Qigong, but seeing that we had that question, I will answer it. But briefly about Tai Chi, you know, and it's a type of Qigong, and Qigong, basically Qi, the same word Qi, has to do with our vitality, our strength. And it's the same Qi that is in Tai Chi as well, Qigong, and the Qi that's commanded in the vessels, in the meridians when we talk about acupuncture. So there are a variety of ways that we complement that Qi. We promote the Qi. Anytime there's pain or there's sickness, there's an obstacle or obstruction or impediment in the flow of Qi in the body. So we try to remove that. But first, we can do that, as we were saying, with meditation, even untying those knots that create a confusion and ultimately sickness. Sickness starts with our mind in one way or another. And then with emotions. And each of the 5 elements has an emotional correspondence. But just to go, and we will, if we have time, we will do a little bit on the second part of our 8 petals, which would be Tai Chi or Qigong exercises. And, you know, we're saying Tai Chi and Qigong, but yoga is also a fine exercise to do. I taught yoga for a long time and had the good fortune of studying with some wonderful teachers in India. And to cultivate the breath, you know, in doing pranayama, if you're doing yoga, don't forget the pranayama. That is the chi, that is the Chinese word, ki is the Japanese word, prana, you know, pranayama is the Sanskrit word. Lung, you know, when I say get the lung for a particular transmission, lung means breath as well. So the reading transmission, when we have empowerments, things like that, you'll be chanting mantras or dharanis, and then sacred things will come by and the monks and will blow onto it as a blessing. So that is the lung, or the breath. So we're trying to cultivate that, that quality with the Qigong. Your primary source of energy is the air that you breathe. You can go for a while without eating and drinking. You can't go long without breathing. And sometimes in yoga, the pranayama is not emphasized, but I think it's very important. So for you yogis and yoginis out there, don't forget the pranayama when we look at the quality of the breath. So, all right, let's just go back briefly to our first of the petals, meditation, self-cultivation. And as it relates to the 5 elements, we said there are 6 perfections. We have 5 elements. So in the Buddhist tradition, as taught by the historical Buddha of our time, who lived over 2,600 years ago, he taught 3 primary principles in cultivating a mind of enlightenment. And basically put, it's to cultivate virtue in abundance, to avoid doing harm to oneself and others, and to completely tame your mind. That's where meditation comes in, to completely tame your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So as part of our training, we talked about accomplishing these goals on the path to enlightenment. We endeavored to cultivate and apply the skillful methods that the Buddha taught. So Buddhists, as well as Taoists, martial artists, other Asian traditions speak of developing the kind of life we want for ourselves, and as the kind of life we want through self-cultivation. So we have to ask ourselves the question, what kind of life, what kind of person do I want to be? This supersedes all the levels, what kind of person do I want to be? And as we look around, we don't see a lot of good models, role models out there. So, it's not about how many initials you have after your name or your profession or job or all those things. To endeavor to cultivate virtuous qualities and to uproot our negative impulses and desires requires practice. And the way of the Bodhisattva is through cultivating what are called the 6 perfections, or the 6 paramitas. So each meditation associated with one of the 5 elements results in the perfection of wisdom. So we can say that briefly, let's see. We'll start with generosity. As we look at the paramita of generosity, this is associated with the earth element. When we look at Mother Earth and her generosity, it gives us everything that we need. The food, the shelter, the rains, everything that we have such blessings. We see Mother Earth as the mother, nurturing us all the way. So this enlightened quality of generosity that we cultivate through charity, giving, offering, the essence of this perfection is unconditional love. Like a mother has for its child, boundless openness of heart and mind, giving freely, without expectation. The earth doesn't have expectation, it just gives. And this is the aspect of generosity associated with the earth element. The earth element is associated with 2 organs of the body, that is the stomach and spleen. The stomach takes in the food that we eat, rots and ripens it. I know that doesn't sound very attractive, but it does have to cook it, break it down for assimilation, and the spleen distributes it to the rest of the body for nutrition. But it's always, when we think at the larger, greater expanse of generosity, is always unconditional and free of selfish desire for gratitude, recognition, advantage, reputation, that kind of thing. It's not accomplished by just giving, nor by the gift. The true essence is our motivation, what's in back of it. And that is the generosity that we're talking about. We can give because of what we think we're going to get back, or how we're going to be received, or someone's going to say something nice about us or hold us in esteem. That is not pure motivation. That is an expectation that goes with this giving, or we just want to get rid of this thing and maybe we can pawn it off on someone else. And there are disadvantages, to being miserly. It's we're always in this state of being greedy, not having enough, and that is our focus for those people who don't have that quality of generosity. Generosity is really the cure for the afflictions of greed, miserliness, and possessiveness. So in this practice of giving, it may be time, it may be energy, it may be money, clothing, gifts to assist others. done naturally and selflessly without cost or benefit analysis that we might want to do. This is the essence really of the earth element that's within us. And again, that is associated, and there's the season is, there's a transitional time with the earth element. It's often associated with the late summer, like we're in now. We've actually just cosmologically entered the fall, September 22nd, which is metal time. But generosity is associated with the earth element, our mother, our connection to mother, our ability to be mothering, and to accept sympathy and to be able to give sympathy and nourishment to others. It has to do with the natural cycles, earth element, generosity. So as I mentioned, we just came into the metal element, which we are in now. And the metal element is associated with ethics. The paramita, perfection of ethics. This is the enlightened quality of virtuous ethical behavior, morality, self-discipline, personal integrity, honor, harmlessness. The essence of this perfection is that through love and compassion, we do not harm others, and with our thoughts, our speech, our actions. And we realize that unethical behavior is always a cause of suffering for ourselves and others, and leads to unhappiness. So practicing the perfection of ethics, we are free of negativity, we are at ease, naturally confident, happy, because we're not trying to carrying out any underlying sense of guilt or remorse. We have nothing to hide. Maintaining our personal integrity, upright moral conduct is the cause for all goodness, happiness, and ultimate freedom. So the metal element is associated with the lungs and the large intestine. This is the metal element, and the fall season that we've just come to. So the lungs, of course, are it's in charge of extracting the pure chi from the heavens, and is associated with the father. Where the earth element is associated with the mother, the metal element is associated with the father. And there's a lot more that we're going to say about the metal element when we come to the 5 elements in more detail. But the question was, what about the 5 elements and the paramita? So I'm giving a brief introduction to that, and maybe along the way we'll have the opportunity to go further with it. The wood element is associated with patience. The emotion with the wood element when it's out of balance, and that's the liver and the gallbladder, is anger. And the antidote to anger is patience. So this is the enlightened quality of tolerance, forbearance, acceptance, something we obviously need more of in this world today. When we look at the nightly news, we don't see much tolerance, forbearance, and acceptance. And this is due to a liver imbalance, basically, which a lot of people are experiencing due to toxic livers and due to the food that we eat and the drugs that we take and the water that we drink. Our livers have to detox all that stuff, and they're getting overburdened. And the expression of a body that's out of balance, particularly in the liver, is anger. And again, the necessary component for balancing that is the paramita of patience. Of course, we're talking about perfect patience here. The patience that is cultivated by a bodhisattva is different than forbearance or tolerance in that sense. It is the ultimate patience that we're talking about here, but we have to start somewhere. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So this enlightened quality of tolerance and forbearance is the wood element. The essence of patience is strength of mind and heart, and enables one to face challenges and difficulties of life without losing our composure and inner tranquility that we see happening so frequently. We embrace adversity, insult, distress, the wrongs of others with patience and tolerance, free of resentment and irritation and emotional reactivity. We think of these things as teachers. When we're approached by somebody who creates this negativity, that creates anger, we look at it as a blessing from our teacher. Oh, great, thank you, I get this opportunity. Without that, we couldn't develop this paramita of patience. There are some teachers who would intentionally have some irritating, irascible person in their monastery or to travel with. There's lots of stories like that for their students to cultivate this aspect of patience, to help maintain our inner peace, calmness, and equanimity under all circumstances. So patience and the wood element. The fire element, which has to do with the heart and small intestine, and the season of summer is associated with joyous effort and enthusiastic perseverance. This is the enlightened quality of energy, vigor, vitality, enthusiasm, diligence, persistent effort, never give up kind of idea. The essence is of joyous effort in the practice of our Dharma. And whatever we're practicing in the workplace, we have this quality of joyous effort. This is the essence of the fire element. It's having courage, energy, in the face of obstacles, and untiring effort. The Bodhisattva works tirelessly for the benefit of beings, energetically and joyously. So this is the aspect of enthusiastic perseverance. When we cultivate this type of diligence and perseverance, we cultivate a strong, healthy mind. And it's one of the things that leads to long life. There's ikigai, I-K-A-G-A-I, ikigai. So when the question is, what book would I recommend? This just comes to mind. It is a study of different places where people are long-lived, and what are the qualities that go with that. And part of the thing besides food is having a community and a sense of a job that we love. And part of this ikigai is finding your purpose in life and the thing that you really resonate with the most, that brings you happiness. So if you're going 9 to 5 at a job that you hate, this is not ikigai. This is not the thing that produces well-being, long life, happiness, and joy. So when we look at the fire element, this joyous effort, enthusiastic perseverance, is associated with this. It gives a determination even in the face of hardship, in the face of obstacles. We are unrelenting as bodhisattvas to benefit other beings. This is the fire in the gut that keeps the bodhisattva working diligently. We call it, it's the bodhisattva is seen as a spiritual warrior. It takes incredible strength and determination to continually work for the benefit of beings. We work, it's a twofold benefit, the practice that we do, both for ourselves, certainly to attain Buddhahood, but for the benefit of all beings. And we keep this in mind in our meditation and persevere until we arrive at the destination. Not giving up is essential to success. The water element is the last we've talked about. The earth, the metal, the fire, the wood, and water element is the fifth. And the paramita associated with this is concentration. So this is the enlightened quality of meditation. This is associated with the water element, has to do with the kidneys and the bladder. This is the water element. This is the essential quality of yin, which is meditative. It is associated with the season of the winter. Things are in hibernation. The energy is withdrawn. Everything is preparing for the spring and the new beginning that comes in the spring. But now it's a very internal process. So meditation, contemplation, mindfulness, mental stability, and concentration is associated with the water element. Our minds have a tendency to be very distracted and restless. So always moving from one thought to and feeling to another, as we mentioned earlier. So if we don't stabilize the mind with meditative contemplation to quiet this restless mind, we'll just keep engaging in the same habitual patterns of thoughts and behaviors that we've done since beginningless time that really hasn't taken us to the result that we want, which is Buddhahood, enlightenment for the benefit of beings. So we train ourselves, we train our mind by practicing meditation, such as previously mentioned, shamatha, vipassana, and mahamudra. We achieve the focus, composure, and tranquility that is essential to progress along the path. So the development of one-pointed concentration requires perseverance to cultivate attention, mindfulness, and awareness, but the rewards are great. You know, meditation is a very important component of our practice. So that's the water element. So wisdom, we would say, is the culmination of the previous 5 virtues. It is also the hardest to realize because of our fixed habitual patterns that obscure the mind's true nature. It is the perfected, enlightened quality of insight and total clarity. As I said before, that the nature of the mind is pure awareness. It is total clarity. That's its nature. But we get a little foggy around the edges because of our distractions, because of our clinging, because of a variety of things that interfere with the pure perception of the nature of our mind. So wisdom comes as we cultivate the other 5 perfections as well: the generosity, morality, joyful effort, patience, concentration, meditation. So the supreme wisdom is the highest understanding and knowing, you know, that humans can attain. It is the understanding of emptiness, knowing that wisdom beyond words realizes the interconnectedness of all things. We see the essential nature of reality and clarity directly. We have the experience of that, direct experience of the nature of reality, not just some idea or concept. We embody it, we experience it. Our perception goes beyond, you know, the elusive deception veils of material existence. We see through the veil, cut through the illusion. We release the ego attachments and dissolve all dualistic concepts with this insight. Beyond hope and fear, dualistic thoughts, ego clinging, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, go beyond. But wisdom also directs the cultivation of the other 5 virtues. The analogy of the 2 wings of the bird, you know, is often used to illustrate this point. We practice the first 5 virtues in order to develop wisdom. And we also practice wisdom in order to let go of our ego clinging and our self-absorption. And it all works together. Skillful means and wisdom. Let's take us to the happiness and freedom that we all look for. We all want to be happy. And freedom, ultimate freedom, is takes us away from the tyranny of a mind that keeps us so conditioned. So that is the 5 elements and the 6 paramitas. Shall we take some questions about that?
Yes, thank you, Lama. The first question came in while you were speaking, and I'm going to scroll back to it. Okay, this was a request from Kathy Lamo to ask a question on audio, via audio. So Kathy Lamo, you can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lama Losang, so much for being here with us today. And I really aspire that you do more classes like this. Is so helpful during these times. My question is, recently, years ago, I taught yoga and could not do it because for a long time, due to my stroke, re- recovery period. It just didn't work out. Recently, 2 months ago, I started doing yoga again. Yay! I'm very excited about that. I'm being very conservative, have an excellent teacher, but he's very enthusiastic about pranayama.
Yes.
As a practitioner, should I be careful regarding, I just don't want to not holding any breaths, mostly doing just kriyas, but I just wanted to check in on that.
Well, as I say, the primary source of your energy is your breath. And often we hold our breath, we breathe shallowly. So charging ourselves up with oxygen and with the pranayama is good. So just alternate nostril breathing. There are different ways that the breath can be used. There are a lot of teachers. So, you know, it's like anything else. We want a teacher who's adept and knowledgeable. But if you can follow those instructions and you know, he knows you, you know him, and he knows your situation, you should be guided accordingly. So it's good that you're doing the pranayama as well as the asanas, you know, the stretching. Good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. The second question is a little bit of a housekeeping question regarding the wood element. So the person missed the part. It says, what season is wood associated with? Because I think that we were associating the seasons of the year with the elements.
It's the springtime. It's the new beginning that's associated with the spring. It's associated with the color green, as I say, liver and gallbladder. And the time, there's a 2-hour diurnal cycle for each of the organs as well. 1 to 3 a.m. is the liver time. So some people have some insomnia, they can't sleep, often between the hours of 1 and 3. And then after that, they can fall back asleep again. Usually that is the liver trying to give you a little heads up that we need some help. And gallbladder is 11 to 1, it just precedes the liver time. So you should be asleep by 11 o'clock. You know, getting enough sleep, people are sleep deprived. So getting enough sleep, and that's another thing that we'd be talking about along the way and with diet as well. But to answer that question, springtime.
Okay, thank you.
The new things are beginning to come up after the slumber of the winter, the extreme yin. That begins the yang process of ascension for the energy in the body.
And in fact, the next question is requesting a summary of a review of the list of elements and the seasons they are associated with, as a brief review, please.
Okay, so we started with the earth element. The earth element is associated with late spring. The late summer. And there's an intermediate period between each of the seasons that is associated with earth. But think of the earth as late summer. It's kind of the Indian summer time. And the organs are the stomach and spleen. And I can give you, again, the time for the stomach is 7 to 9 in the morning, and 9 to 11 for the spleen. This is the peak time. Again, there's a diurnal cycle, and just the opposite time, 7 to 9 p.m. is the low time for the stomach. And just as a way of considering your daily routines, what is the time that you usually have your biggest meal? Often it's 7 to 9 in the evening when the stomach is not prepared to do that job efficiently of doing its digestive process. 7 to 9 in the evening or in the morning is the peak time. So you may have heard the expression, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. Or if you're a female, breakfast like a queen, lunch like a princess, and dinner like a pauper. So we want to break our fast with a good morning meal for blood sugar reasons as well. You've gone for a period of time without eating. Blood sugar is a little bit off. So eating a good meal, not high carb, but good oils as well. And that's another thing. We talk about diet and nutrition, what that constitutes from this perspective. So just eating fresh foods, things that are grown in your area at the seasons that they come, the fruits, the vegetables. I'm a proponent of being vegetarian, if possible, or reducing your meat. And if you do eat meat, have grass-fed and somewhat consciously grown, not the industrial variety that's shot up with hormones and antibiotics. We're getting a negative result from all that. But if you can, become more vegetarian. We have aspects and now can be easily vegetarian with all of the different foods that we have, nuts, seeds, vegetables, grains. So, okay, see right now, I'm kind of a little carried away with that. Metal element is the next one we talked about. That is the fall, the season that we're in right now. It's associated with the lungs and the large intestine. Large intestine time is 3 to 5 a.m. and associated with the fall or the autumn. 3 to 5 a.m. for the lungs and 5 to 7 for the large intestine. And a lot of people have maybe constipation or problems with their bowels. If you would just train yourself to sit, give yourself time somewhere between 5 and 7 in the morning, you can train your bowel to do its job. That is the natural time where the energy of the large intestine is available. It's the garbage man of the body to detox and to get rid of toxic waste. So to balance, there is this harmony, this diurnal cycle, and if we can live our lives in conjunction with that, naturally in concert with it, we will live much more harmoniously and healthier. So I think we said metal element, lungs and large intestine, and fall season or autumn. And associated with ethics, morality, self-discipline. The wood element, the liver and gallbladder, as I mentioned, liver time is 1 to 3 a.m. and gallbladder is 11 to 1 a.m., 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. It's the paramita is patience, and the season is springtime. The fire element, heart, small intestine. There's also 2 functions that we'll talk about when we talk about the 5 elements, and those functions are the warming quality of the body, called the triple heater. It's the thermostat of the body, and the pericardium, which surrounds the heart and protects the heart. It's also called the heart protector. The pericardium surrounds the heart, protects it from trauma and shock, physical and mental and emotional trauma and shock. Those are 2 additional functions that we find in the fire element. It is joyous effort and enthusiastic perseverance, as we say, is the paramitas, and the summer, the heat of summer. The time for the heart is 11 to 1 p.m., high noon, and that is not daylight savings time, that's sometime. You can't fool Mother Nature, so you have to convert if you're on daylight savings time to know that 11 to 1 is the heart time, and 1 to 3 is small intestine time. It follows that. And I think if we did a study to see when heart attacks happen, it may happen between 11 and 1 a.m., the opposite time when the heart is at its low point. But it's not always the heart that creates the problem. There's a relationship between all these organs. So sometimes our water element, the kidneys and the bladder are deficient. We don't hydrate. Hydration is very important. And we kind of take it for granted. We don't drink as much fluid, often back pain, things like that. Is simple dehydration that the discs need to stay plumped up, and hydrating is important. If the water isn't controlling the fire, it can blaze out of control, and then you can have cardiovascular disease. So that is the summertime. And lastly is the water element, which is the winter time. As we say, everything is kind of going inside. It's time for hibernation. The energy is most yin at that time. You know, you've heard yin and yang. Yang, the expression of our fire element, that's the expression of heat, and fire is yang. Cold and is the association with the water element, water. Wintertime, and concentration, focus, mindfulness, contemplation is associated with the paramita, the water element. Did that answer the question? Oh, the water element also, I should say, I was given the times. So bladder time is 3 to 5 p.m. The urinary bladder is associated with our reserve of energy. And sometimes our reserves, you know, between 3 and 5, you start feeling run down. That's the time you're looking for that other cup of coffee or some way to charge yourself up. And 5 to 7 is the kidney time, PM. 3 to 5 bladder, 5 to 7 PM kidney time. So make sure you're hydrating. You know, rule of thumb for hydration is your weight in half that many ounces a day. That may seem like a lot, but you know, it's all the fluids. You know, you can get a certain amount of fluids with the juices and with different foods that you eat have a certain fluid content to them. But in general, your body weight in half that many ounces a day. And it depends on, of course, where you live. If you live in a hot climate like Florida and you perspire a lot, you may need more. And if you're very active and perspiring a lot, then again, that changes things some more. But you know, when you're perspiring heavily, whether you're outside or working outside, you're losing more than fluids. You're losing electrolytes as well. So replacing those electrolytes is important. If you have cramps in your legs or in your hands, often you're losing electrolytes such as magnesium. And I would say a lot of people are deficient in magnesium and should consider supplementation. And that supplementation should be anything that ends in ATE. So magnesium orotate, magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate. There's a lot of different magnesiums and they do have a slightly different function, but those will all work fine. If you can't sleep, magnesium threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier and will help with insomnia and help you sleep and also give you the added magnesium that you may be deficient in. And if you drink a lot of coffee, that also leaches magnesium in particular out of your system, so you should replace it. Okay, well, that was a little extra there. Any other questions?
Yes, there actually are a few other questions. So Lama, there was a request for a complete chart of these, and we'll discuss whether we can put that together and send that to people along with the link for the video. We'll have that conversation. In the meantime, we have 3 more questions. We are at 1/4 the hour. Do you want to go ahead and take them, Lama?
Let's take the questions, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the first question is, by the way, to the woman who asked on chat, I hope that Lama answered your question regarding daylight savings time. Because I heard him address that. So if you have an additional question about that, we'll ask you in a minute. Meanwhile, here's a question about vegetarianism. Is being vegan even more recommended than being vegetarian, or is being vegan and vegetarian equally beneficial?
Yeah, there is people ask me about books. There is a book that I would recommend. It's called Ketotarian, and it is by Dr. Will Cole, Ketotarian. And it depends on how you do your vegan diet or how you do your vegetarian diet. I know vegetarians that hate vegetables and all they eat is grains and carbs and breads and pastas, and that doesn't work very well, and they wonder why they're getting as big as a house. You have to know how to do a vegetarian diet, and you have to know how to do a vegan diet. it's not so easy as a vegan because you're cutting out a lot of foods being completely vegan. I'm vegetarian, I'm not vegan. But I would suggest that book to you, Ketotarian by Will Cole. It'll explain a lot of a ketotarian diet. Keto diet is a little different than some other diets. Often ketotarian or keto people who do a keto diet have a high meat diet because it's a fatty diet, actually. And fats don't make you fat, it's the carbs that make you fat, and sugars. So, but you have to know how to do it to be successful. So if you're interested, if there's a book that I would recommend, it would be the Ketotarian Diet.
Mm-hmm. And I just put the title and the author in chat, and the chat will also be shared with everyone tomorrow. Overnight tonight, I will compile a list of all the things we covered, and also the link to the YouTube video on this presentation. Now, here's a quick one. Are the elements and so forth and associate? Start again. Are these elements and associated body knowledge? Does this come from Chinese medicine or does this come from Tibetan medicine?
Both. They both do the 5 elements, and both.
Okay. Here's another quick one. How do we look at the immune system? Is the immune system associated with one of the organs, or is the immune system associated with something else? Because the questioner is asking, would the immune system be associated with, what would it be associated with as far as the paramitas are concerned? So I don't know how to...
Yeah, I don't know that I would put that in association with the paramitas. With the elements, yes, but with the immune system has to have everything working harmoniously. The liver has to do its job, the heart has to do its job, the digestive system has to do its job, the elimination has to do its job. So they all work, in concert with one another. And if one of those is out of balance, it's going to throw everything out of balance. It's like a family at home. If one of the members of the family are sick, it affects all of the members of the family. People have to take extra the work. If mom's sick, things are not good. Everyone has to take extra function to pick up the slack. And in the body, it's the same way. The body is seen as a kingdom, the kingdom of the body, mind, spirit. So each of these organs has a particular function. The heart is seen as the supreme controller. Small intestine is the official of assimilation and absorption. The stomach, as I mentioned, we take it in and rots and ripens the food that we take in. It's like a big cement mixer. It actually has to, it has a temperature. It's like an oven. It has to cook the food. So people who don't have a strong gastric ability should not eat a lot of raw foods. A salad bar or only eating raw foods is not going to do well because your body doesn't have the capacity to break it down. If you see underdigested food particles in your stool, you know that's happening. Again, everybody is different. So when we look at the immune system, often we look at the spleen. The spleen is like a big lymph node, and it is important. Our white blood cells are made there. And so there's a variety of things associated with each of the organs. But when we talk about the 5 elements, if we do some further classes and we talk more specifically about the 5 elements, you'll see the relationship of these elements and the organ systems and what they do. But they all have to function together harmoniously to get the job done. So the immune system is dependent upon everything working together properly.
Thank you. And now we have a question, another quick one about magnesium. Which form of magnesium was recommended for sleep?
Threonate. Threonate. Threonate.
Okay.
That's the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So it does help with sleep. Magnesium has a nice relaxing effect. And it also is very nourishing to the connective tissue and muscles. So as I say, it'd be good to use if you have cramps at night or anytime, you know, in your muscles. That is usually magnesium deficiency.
Okay. Next, let's see. Here's a question. What to do if I work nights 3 times a week? Sometimes my body is confused.
Yes, exactly. And they don't call it the graveyard shift for nothing. This is not ideal. And I would change that if you possibly can. And that shift back and forth and is really not good. Your body likes rhythm and order, just like the seasons come. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. The seasons come, the seasons go. So to be in that situation is really not so great for your health.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So the solution to that, Lama, is to change the.
Change your job. Yes, I know that's easier said than done, but
I know.
you know, you have to see what your priorities are. Is it getting the paycheck, or is it living a life that is going to be conducive to good health and well-being?
Okay. So the next question is from a questioner, again, asking about vegetarianism, that she has problems because she has multiple severe allergies to nuts and to soy proteins. So how does that figure in on diet?
Yeah, but you have to avoid those things you're allergic to. That's not going to be good. And a lot of people have allergies to soy. I don't recommend soy unless it's in a fermented form, like tempeh or miso or something like that, that it breaks down and is more easily assimilated. But soy is not so great. And unless it's organic, it is often it's a GMO and who knows what. So I'm not a big fan of soy, and a lot of vegetarians eat so much soy, soy milk, soy everything in one way or another. And there's a point of diminishing return with the soy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So getting protein then is going to be a bit of a challenge for this questioner.
Not really. I mean, there are other forms of protein, you know, and it depends. You know, one of the things for me is I don't want to kill any living being, but if a chicken is going to lay an egg and nothing is harmed, it's unfertilized, and it's eggs are really a perfect food in a certain kind of way, that they have all of the amino acids and all of the proteins that are necessary for our cells. So one might consider eggs, unless you have an allergy to eggs. Vegetables do have proteins in them. So I would suggest the Ketotarian book. The foods are listed, their proteins. Protein really isn't that important. You have to have a certain amount. In the keto diet, it's about 20% at most. Unless you're using that protein for cell growth, if you're working out, that is one thing. But most people eat way more protein and are protein fixated. And if you're not using it, it's also going to turn into a carbohydrate and you're going to gain weight. Mm-hmm. So again, I refer you to that book, Ketotarian.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lama, we have a lot of questions coming in. So we're at 53 minutes past the hour. So I think what we can do is we'll try to handle as many of them as we can, and then we'll have to set up another time. You're just going to have to come back, Lama.
Yes, well, my pleasure. I'm happy to do it, and I enjoy doing it. And if it's beneficial, I'm certainly happy to do it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, if you don't mind, Lama, then we have some more questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. In addition to adjusting for daylight savings time, do you also need to adjust for where you are in the time zone based on the solar noon?
No, I mean, where you are is where you are, and the time will be the same for you, but it will be based on your time zone, where the sun is. The sun is also following that same track.
Okay. And now another question is about menopause. How does it affect the elements?
Well, it's not how menopause affects the elements, it's how the elements affect menopause. And we have a certain predisposition, genetically, and your menopause often, whether it's hot flashes or night sweats, those kinds of things are often aggravated by imbalances, often in the liver or the kidney that work with the urogenital system. So I would say everybody's different. It's hard to answer that question, how does it affect, without taking your pulse and seeing what organs are affected. So if you have access to an acupuncture physician or someone, I would say we would have to do that on an individual basis.
The other, thank you, Lama. The other question is, other than Tai Chi, Qigong, and yoga, are other forms of exercise recommended?
Yeah, just walking is fine. We want to move the chi in the blood. Often we just live very stationary lives. We're in front of our computers all the time and inactive. So get up and walk, even if you're in front of your computer. And now more than ever, we don't even get up to go to our jobs sometimes. We're working at home. And that is not so good. You have to move a little bit. So walking is excellent exercise. But walk with, some pace and get the blood moving a little bit. If you're walking out like I am with my dog sometimes, it is a pretty casual walk. It's not really cardiovascular, but there's lots of things that you can do and enjoy the time outside. Breathe some fresh air and get outside. And if you can get into an environment, that in nature, we've kind of divorced ourselves from Mother Earth as well. So finding a place to walk in a park where the air is clean and you have oxygen from the trees and the negative ions from a spring or a river or those kinds of things, all good. So yes, you're not, it's not nothing magic about Qigong or Tai Chi or yoga. It is just the movement. It is the mindfulness that can go with those two. I teach Tai Chi basically as a moving meditation, not as a martial art. One has to really be pretty competent to use it as a martial art. But as an exercise that enhances, improves our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, it is unsurpassed. It's wonderful. And you can do it anywhere. It doesn't require any equipment or anything like that.
Thank you. Now we're nearing the top of the hour. So Lama, if we could impose upon you to continue answering questions till about 5 minutes past the hour, or did you have a summary you'd like to give?
No, I think we can continue answering questions. We will dedicate the merit. If I could have you dedicate the merit at the end when you think it's time, we can do that.
Okay, yeah. So, friends, thank you again for participating in all of the wonderful questions. Yes, we will definitely ask Lama to come back to answer more questions and continue his presentation on the eight-petaled lotus. But meanwhile, we do have 2 additional questions. These will be the last questions for this session. The first of these 2 questions is, the questioner writes, I heard a Tibetan medicine doctor mention that he believes there is a special healing food for each individual person. What is your opinion on that? And how would a person go about finding their healing food?
It is true that based on the constitutional predisposition of each individual, there are foods that are going to be more in line and nourishing. So for the wood imbalance, for example, it's sour taste. So green vegetables, leafy green vegetables, fermented things are going to be fine too. Fermented things also have the capacity to enhance your gut and flora, your biome, as it is called, natural biome of your gut. So sour is associated with the wood, sweet to a certain degree with the earth element, a sweet taste. With the fire element, it's bitter. With the water element. It's salty, so wood, sour, fire, bitter, metal, spicy, or, you know, to open up your nose. If you have wasabi, that tends to open up your breathing, and you should breathe through your nose at night too. Some people are mouth breathers. That's not really healthy. And also, not having a fan on you at night is also important. If you can feel the wind blowing on you at night, not so great. So yes, to answer the question, yes, there is. And the correspondence that goes with that will be something that we can talk about as well. So there are certain foods based on taste.
Okay, and then this is an extra question. Lama, do you teach Tai Chi?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you have a Zoom class, please give us the details later, or you can give them now or later, and then we'll put this in the email to everyone tomorrow.
Now I'm not doing it on Zoom. You know, we were doing it before. I've been invited to teach at our local facility here. So on Mondays and Fridays, I teach at a gym that, but it's not being recorded. So, but it'd be better, you know, I don't know what the situation is there, but there are some Zoom classes in Tai Chi, and maybe we can find a link for those. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Anything you can provide that would help our listeners with that. And
Yes.
now here's the last question for this morning, and that is, you were talking about eggs as a food, but what about eggs being a byproduct of an animal? For
That's
people
true. It
who are
is.
having who have some concern about that.
Yeah. So you would want the eggs to come from a chicken that is free range and is being cared for. Again, not the manufactured variety. They're just treated so terribly. And that is a personal choice at that point, that if you choose to do that or not. Yes, it does come from an animal. So vegan wouldn't have honey because it comes from bees, would not have dairy because it comes from the cows or the goats or the, you know, so it is a, but we do have to take care of our health. This precious human birth is not to be wasted and enhanced. So sometimes we look at foods as medicine, and they're prescribed, even you know, in the Tibetan Ayurvedic tradition, that for vegetarians to have, if they're used like that on occasion for as medicine, you know, let your food be your medicine and medicine be your food, is more the idea. But do you have to do it that way? No. So when I say that it can be a perfect food, it is a perfect food, but you may not want to indulge in it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Lama. I want to pass along that there are lots of folks in the chat right now, and they're saying, like, thank you, Lama, and thank you for teaching today. And then we have a librarian on our in our group today who is saying that you can check your local libraries for Zoom yoga and Zoom Tai Chi instruction.
Oh, good. Yes.
And then here's an advertisement for the Avon Public Library in Connecticut. So we'll share these links with people tomorrow by email. We'll send the copy of the chat. Several people have said given links to different things, and we will put that. We will copy the chat to everybody as a tomorrow.
Well,
So Lama,
it's been my pleasure to be here and doing this for you. I wish you great success in the continuation of your rebuilding project, and whatever I can do to assist in that, I'm very happy to do so.
Well, I tell you what, Lama, we wish you a long life, excellent health, and continued Dharma activity to benefit beings.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Lama, would you give us the dedication, please?
Would you do the dedication?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I apologize. I prepared the Mahamudra lineage supplication, but I did not prepare the dedication, so I will have to recite it in English, and you can join in if you're familiar with.
post it. So, okay, we'll just follow your lead.
Okay. Through this merit, may all obtain the omniscience of Buddhahood. May it defeat our common enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. May we free all beings. May we free all beings. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get to the rest of this.
Thanks, Lama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Signing off from Columbus KTC. Signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.